Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be looking at how to use Appium to test iOS apps with the simulator. There's some requirements to do this. Firstly, you'll need to be running macOS 10. This is required so that you can run the iOS simulator. You're also going to need to have Appium installed. I made a video on how to install appium.app, so if you haven't already, it's worth having a look at that. And you're also going to need Xcode in order to compile your app and also have access to the iOS simulator. Now, to briefly cover the steps that we're going to take in this video, firstly we're going to look at how to actually compile your app. Then we're going to look at how we're going to configure Appium to run your app using the desired capabilities, which is part of the Selenium protocol. And then we're going to go ahead and actually launch our app using the inspector. If you don't already have Xcode, then now's the time to get it. You can get it either from the App Store, or you can head across to the Downloads for Apple Developers site, search for Xcode, and then download a DMG. Once you've got that installed, it's then time to open your app's Xcode project. If you don't have access to this, then you might need to ask one of the developers on the app to do this step for you. Next, make sure that you're targeting your build against an iOS simulator device rather than a real device. This is important because it makes sure that you're building for the right architecture. In this case, I'm just choosing the iPhone 6. We're then going to need to click on Product and click on Clean. Then when that finishes, we're going to click on Product again and click on Build. You'll then need to wait for your app to compile. Once that's finished, we're then going to look for the compiled app. So we're going to look in this Products group and you should see your app name .app. This is the compiled product, but we're actually going to need to find the correct one. So if you right click on this and then click on Show in Finder, you should see a folder called debug-iPhone OS. Now this is actually the wrong folder, so we're going to need to click on Go and then click on Enclosing Folder. And you should then see a folder called debug-iPhone Simulator. If you open this, you should then see your app name as a recently modified file. This is the compiled output. So we're going to move this onto our desktop because we're going to need it in a minute. We can then close out a Finder and we can minimize Xcode because we won't need them anymore. We're now going to open up Appium. This is how you should see Appium when you run it for the first time. Now make sure that you've got iOS selected and then click on the Apple logo to bring up the settings. We're going to tick App Path and then choose the compiled app that we just produced. We're then also going to force device and we're going to choose the simulator that we want to use. In this case, I'm just going to use the iPhone 6. You can then also choose the platform version. In this case, I'm going to choose 8.2. We've then configured everything we need to get our app running. So we can then close this and click on Launch. Then you'll notice that Appium has started successfully. It's now time to click on the Inspector button and you'll see that Appium starts launching our app. The iOS simulator launches and in a few moments we should see the inspector launch as well. If you can now see this screenshot in the inspector window, then your app has launched successfully. You can then click on some of the elements on the screen and see the information that Appium has about them. This is now your app running. You're free to then explore the Appium Inspector and start to figure out how Appium works.